Okay, so last time we got the fretwork done, we got the nice rosewood facing put onto the headstock so we can put an inlay on that, and we also got the neck glued in. So we've kind of moved on a fair amount with this build. The neck's been drying overnight, so it's good and solid there. And just to check one more time, we're kind of pretty much exactly where we need to be in terms of the scale length, and that bridge is almost down as low as it will go, and we've got some string action there, so I see absolutely no trouble in getting this set up once we put it all together. So some real solid progress there. So in this episode, I want to concentrate more on the body side of things. And as I suggested last time, I want to do something about this pickguard because I don't like it. And I know that Flying V's have this style of pickguard and it's quite a normal thing for them to have. However, most Flying V's don't have a nice flamey maple top on them. And even though this is only a veneer, I want to show it off as much as I possibly can. And I just don't think that's really the case with this great big black pickguard. It's going to hide most of it and won't look horrible. It will look normal, and I don't want this to look normal. I want it to look nice. So to that end, I have to think of something else. Now, ordinarily in this kind of a situation, what I would do is I would use pickup rings to mount the pickups, and then have a much smaller scratch plate configuration for the controls, etc. And obviously, if I was going to be building this from scratch, I just would have put this control cavity in from the back and not had a hole in the front whatsoever. Same with the output jack. However, the issue we've got on this one is because it's a kit and it's all come pre-drilled for everything, that would leave us with a load of screw holes that we'd have to do something with. And in my experience, trying to hide a small hole like that is next to impossible and would make things look absolutely vile. So we're not going to go down that route. Instead, what I'm going to do, and I mentioned this in the first episode, is I'm going to remake the scratch plate, but I'm going to make it bigger so that it encompasses this whole area as well. And you might think, well, you're saying you want to show off more of the veneer and now you're going to cover even more of it up, but I'm not, because I'm going to use this, which is underneath this white plastic clear. So I'm going to make a see-through pickguard which will show off as much of the veneer as possible, so we get that nice flame maple finish. And then on the bits where I want to hide something, so the control cavity, the output jack, and around the pickups, I'm going to spray on the back of it, which is what they do on the Paisley Telecasters. Now obviously that's quite a big area to be sprayed and to try and hide. That won't be what I'm trying to do. It will match what's going on with the colour scheme, but you need to bear in mind as well, there's going to be loads of controls on there, so that area will have a lot going on which will take your eye off what's happening in terms of the pickguard. That's my hope. I think my theory is pretty sound. What my execution is going to be, it's probably going to be a different story. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have to get everything off this pickguard again, and then I'm going to make a template or two. I'm probably going to make the templates out of card because I can use this as the main routing template for most of it, and then I'll just have to find a way of doing this additional bit down the bottom. So I'll just get everything stripped off camera and then we can carry on. Okay, so that's everything off, and we've got the pickguard kind of with all its components off again and in position. And basically what I want to do is just extend this kind of down to here a bit so we can incorporate that. I would have liked to have kind of perhaps trimmed some of this away, but I think the way that the shape works, we need kind of that in position. So I will just get a bit of card, kind of roughly shape how we want it. Just kind of quickly tape that down so it's not moving all over the place. Stick my pickguard back on in position, and in this instance I can just use this edge for where I need to be. We're ending somewhere around there. And I think I'll come somewhere down there. We'll see if we can find a circle template. That's the right size to give us that radius, which looks to be about 38 mil. And then just draw that in. So I'll get that cut out and we'll see how that works for us. And that appears to have worked pretty well. Gives me the shape that I want. And I'm thinking for this area down by the output jack is that I'll probably kind of trim this back a little bit once I've got the clear pickguard made, so that I can actually utilize these two screw holes to hold it in place. Because if I do it that way, this whole clear pickguard thing can be removed and it can just be replaced with the original hardware if that's what people want to do, because obviously this guitar isn't going to end up with me. So next up, I'll clear everything off the bench and I'll get my sheet of acrylic on, pray to God that it all fits, and we can get that marked out and get it to the bandsaw. And I've just very quickly kind of put some tape onto this perspex just so I can roughly mark out the outline of this pickguard. I'm going to cut quite a way outside of this line, so I've got kind of plenty of spare material, and then I'll just route it all to shape where I can using this as a template, and then I'll just have to make up some straight edges to route around for the rest of it. But before I go too far, I'm going to bring the guitar back onto the bench and just kind of try and match that up as best I can to make sure that it's going to work. And that looks absolutely spot on. We've got plenty of material past this output section, so we can trim that down if we need to later on. So without further ado, I'll bite the bullet, get this over to the bandsaw and kind of get it rough trimmed to shape. So that's the original pickguard super glued and masking taped in place onto the perspex, and I've also kind of stuck the whole thing to this bigger bit of wood just to keep everything from moving around. And I'm slowly but surely going to start working my way around this. It's going to take a little while, so I probably won't film it all, but basically it's just a case of routing around this edge, moving it to a better position, routing the next bit, so on and so forth. And then when we've done that, we can look at marking and drilling out all the little holes. Okay, so there's the outline of the pickguard mostly cut out. I still need to do a little bit of work down here, but that's the bulk of it done. You might have noticed I had to go to plan B very, very quickly there. This just wasn't thick enough to be routing round. Because it's got this chamfer on, it only left a very, very small edge to run your router against, and it was just not enough to kind of get a nice cut. So all I did was I super glued and masking taped a straight edge along there. Everything's a straight edge here. There's no kind of contours or curves, so it was pretty straightforward. It was just laborious and time consuming. But now that we've got that done, the next bit is to just drill a whole bunch of holes in here, and I'm not going to go overboard with this. I'm simply going to, again, super glue and masking tape it in place, and then just kind of go around it with the appropriate size drill bits and kind of drill out where we need holes. So with that done, it's just a case of kind of finding the kind of suitable size drill bits. And just drilling them out. And I think with that done, we can now try and get this original off again, offer this up to the guitar and find out where we need to be drilling the holes down here, and also what we need to be doing to trimming this off to a kind of a more suitable shape. I'd actually thought I'd broken it at one stage when I was drilling out this hole here, but it was actually the little disc of material that I'd drilled out with the Forstner bit that shattered as I went through. But it did kind of put the fear of God into me, because I thought all that effort had been wasted on a broken pickguard. But we are all good, so no need to worry about that. Okay, and I've got this screwed into place now very loosely, so it's not going to move around anywhere whilst I do this little bit. And you can see I am kind of well within where I need to be for these two little holes. So I'm just going to kind of pop a little centre mark in there. And I'm also going to kind of just have a go at marking this out. Now this might seem like a little bit ad hoc, but it is pretty much a perfect fit for what we want. So I'm going to just kind of mark that on there. And I think that works pretty much perfectly. So I'll get this whipped off, we can get it over to the bandsaw and get that bit cut off. There we have the final job. There's a little bit of fettling up probably that I'm going to have to do just to get this to fit absolutely 100% how we need it. It's a little bit tight around the heel of the neck, and I think it could just do with going a touch this way just to make everything work a little bit better. But to all intents and purposes, that's done. Obviously, now that we've come this far, I'm going to have to do another trial build, and there's some finishing off work that I need to do, just some general sanding, and I need to countersink these holes. But all in all, I think that's gone really, really well. And as you can see, in terms of the main purpose of this thing, which is not obscuring the nice flamey maple, I think we've done what we set out to do. I'm not going to put a chamfer around this. I'll just soften these edges off nicely and just make sure all the radiuses are really nice. And then we're heading towards the finishing process. However, we have got one last little thing to do before we can do that. And that is to take this nice little piece of mother of pearl that I've got and fashion a logo out of it. I'm not going to go with the normal script logo that I've used in the past. I'm thinking of redesigning something specifically for this one, just to give it a slightly different look that's more in keeping with the more angular look of the piece. So I'll be sorting that out in the next episode, and also taking the first steps in getting the finish sorted out. So that will be along in a few days' time. Until then, don't forget to hit the like button if you've enjoyed this, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.